Oh yeah. All right. Hello everyone again. Rick here, and I just finished watching The Ugly Stepsister. Man, movie was kind of a trip, and just wanted to talk about it a little bit right here. I guess I'll just give it out real quick, a little spoiler warning, as I'm probably going to talk about major plot points to this movie. So if you haven't seen it and you want to see it, you should probably go check it out first. But there's your spoiler warning. Okay, so The Ugly Stepsister, right? It's about, looks like it's a retelling of the Cinderella story, but like through mainly the perspective of the stepsister. Her name's Elvira in this movie, and at the beginning you see that the stepmother, Rebecca, marries the father, right, of this new estate, and of course her family's joined together, and right at the beginning you get your first shock because like the father dies like right there like that. Boom, just keels over at the table. It's kind of crazy. Now Elvira goes along and she reads these fairy tales by the prince, right? The one that she's like obsessed with throughout the whole movie. And she basically spends chunks of the movie, you know, fantasizing about like being with him. They're gonna get married and things of that nature. So when they marry into the family also, they have another stepsister, right? Her name's Agnes. She's like the Cinderella of the story, right? Now they both get invited to a ball, right? Held by the prince, and of course Elvira is excited because she's like, here's my chance, right? I'm gonna go marry the prince and whatnot. Okay, so now that's just a brief synopsis, right? Let's see. This movie's really crazy, just straight up. I had already heard that this movie was kind of crazy. I heard that people threw up during this movie, so I was already like, is it really that bad? Like, is it on that like nasty level like Terrifier or something? And I didn't know, right? I didn't know much about this movie. Didn't know where it was from. For a while, I didn't even know it was going to be in a foreign language, which is pretty cool anyway, right? Foreign movies are cool. So I was pretty surprised there right off the bat. And like I said, this movie starts off hot. The father dies, like boom, right there. This is really early in the movie. It's like, shoot, the credits are still going on after the thing. After he dies, it's so soon, right? And the crazy thing too is that the mother, like, she's pretty horrible. She's a horrible person. But I guess if you read Cinderella, right, you know that they're all horrible, right? But the mother is especially kind of horrible. Agnes is there like, hey, are we going to pay for my dad's funeral? And she's like, when I have the money. After she spent like tons and tons of money to get poor Elvira like all these procedures done, like to fix her nose and things like that. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes, right? But the mother is a truly horrendous person. It's just like, money, can I get it? How can I get it? What can I do to get it? It is truly the saddest thing ever. So we have some tastes of like greed, right? As a lot of people in this movie are like looking to make money, right? Even at one point, the gentleman who brings the dress, who is a pig and disgusting, right? Basically comes in and says, hey, look, we're gonna make tons of money. Let's go make bunches of money. And it's sad to see like the motivation for people being so greedy, right? I mean, these people seem like they chop off your fingers if they could make like a fortune off of it. Like, it's disgusting. My phone went off. I don't know if that came out, but if it did, just a notification. My bad. But I think the real meat and potatoes of this movie, right, is when we're sticking with Elvira, right? Now, she doesn't start off like horrible like the mother is. The mother is just truly awful, right? She doesn't start off like that. She's daydreaming, she's reading her poetry, right? But it is sad like what she ends up going through, right? And looking at it from the past and that past time period, probably a good idea, right? In order to get the message across in this case of the societal standards that women have to deal with when it comes to the way they look. Women, even to this day, right, they still get judged significantly based on the way they look, which is very sad. But back then, again, like I said, it was a perfect time to illustrate this point, as they were incredibly cruel when it came to the way they treated Elvira based on her looks, right? Right at the beginning, right, when they meet the father for the first time, the mother tells her like basically not to smile because of your braces. She's like, braces, and she just covers up, right? Because, you know, she's, of course, braces make you hideous apparently, right? And that is, again, those just societal standards, right? Women aren't supposed to look like that. They're not supposed to be fat, they're not supposed to be ugly, right? Things like that. So it was just sad. And this whole idea is reinforced throughout the movie. When she goes to the school, it's crazy to see the teacher when they're lining them up to get ready for this dance performance they're going to do at the ball, right? Elvira's there in the front. She doesn't go to the back, right? She moves back a row, and then basically she said, hey, look, I told you, right? You don't understand or what? Move to the back, because she's telling her that she's hideous. And then later the same teacher calls her up, right? Doesn't call her up. She just basically, excuse me. She does call her up, but first she's like, hey, how many of you think you can perform the big dance, right, that you're supposed to do right there in front of everybody? Everybody raises their hand, of course, because they all want to do it. Of course, right? I would have raised my hand too if I was in that situation. But she signals out Elvira. Boom. Points her out right there, right? And calls her up, has her, all right, you can do it, do it. Okay, so she starts doing it. Tells her to stop. Says you're talented, wasted talent. The only reason you're here is because your mom paid us. Again, hey, isn't your husband dead? And shouldn't you be paying for his funeral? By the way, his corpse is rotting in the house. It's the most disgusting thing I had seen in a while, right? It's disgusting. Like, she values like trying to make that big buck by making her modifications to her daughter, right? Rather than like, you know, hey, look, your husband died. You should probably bury him. Probably have a funeral. It's disgusting. All right. Then again, the teacher just tells Elvira, basically says, hey, look, you're too big. She even grabs her right here. You need to work harder, right? Really hard, she tells her, pulling on the loose skin under her chin, right? And that's just, again, it's just really sad to see because, look, I guess I gotta be for real, right? I'm a guy, I don't deal with that stuff. I don't deal with that stuff, and neither do the characters in this movie, right? They're all pigs. Like all the friends there of the prince, even the prince is like, excuse my language, right? When they're telling him, hey, look, go stick it in her and all that disgusting stuff. And he's like, I would not fuck that thing. He calls Elvira a thing when he sees her in the woods. So again, these guys are all disgusting, but they don't have to deal with those kinds of societal pressures, right? Even today, I don't have to deal with the societal pressures. At one point, I weighed almost 300 pounds, but nobody bothered me about it, right? The only worried about my health was my parents. Nobody else told me anything about it. Nobody cared. And we can have things like dad bods, right? All that. Nobody cares if it's with us. But with women, unfortunately, they have to deal with all that crap. Oh, you're too big. Oh my God. Even like with things like lifting weights, right? I've heard it a bunch of times from friends who lift weights. They're like, oh, they keep telling me I look like a man and stuff like that. It's horrible, right? All these kinds of pressures that women have based on the way they look, right? And you see it throughout this movie, right? Elvira gets like what I guess from that time period would be a nose job in a really gnarly procedure, right? Where they get like just right in her nose. She gets her braces pulled out because, you know, braces make you hideous. Ugh, disgusting. One of the real kickers though, she eats a tapeworm, right? Because remember, she's supposed to work hard to lose the little extra skin she's got going on there apparently, right? So she eats a tapeworm. Like, those are the kinds of levels she has to go to deal with all this pressure she gets put on by, well, society, right? At this point, she had to eat a tapeworm, and you hear it rumbling and grumbling throughout the whole movie. And again, like I said earlier, there's spoilers, so here's another one. When they pull that thing out at the end of the movie, it is disgusting. The thing is huge. You could lasso a bull with that thing, how long it is, right? It's gross. But again, because she thought she needed to lose weight because she was too big, she ate a tapeworm. So when the ball does come along, right, and she goes off, her hair's falling out, she has fake hair now because, well, I mean, when you have a tapeworm in you, it's basically taking all the nutrients, right, that you're supposed to be getting from the food you're eating. You're basically giving it to the tapeworm. So her health is obviously not at a high point anymore. So she's losing her hair. She has to wear a wig over there. Sorry, the dogs next door just barking, going hard out there. So I just felt really sad for Elvira, man. Like, I guess, like I said, I don't deal with any sorts of pressures like that, right? Certainly nobody cares if I get huge or whatnot, or nobody bothered me about it then. I guess all I can say is that I kind of understand the thinking, because when I lost all the weight, right, I'm just sitting there and I look at myself in the mirror sometimes, even today, right? Like I said, I've lost over 100 pounds. I'll still look at myself in the mirror and be like, honestly, I'll just be blunt, right? I'll look at myself and say, I'm a fat hog, right? Yeah, so I felt really bad watching her go through things like that, because I kind of do it to myself sometimes. But that's the point, right? It's not society telling me anything like that. I'm telling myself that. Like I said, society's not treating me like that, like Elvira. Like, I don't have my teachers telling me that I need to go drop some pounds and I need to work harder or things like that, or I'm fat, right? Or I'm ugly, right? Or things of that nature. Nobody's telling me that. They told her that to her face throughout this movie. Now, if Elvira gets to dance with the prince for a little bit, looks like she's going to win him over. Victory is hers, right? Maybe eating the tapeworm was totally worth it. But then Agnes comes in, right? And sorry, I should have mentioned this a little earlier, right? Agnes sees her dead mom, right? Basically takes that fairy godmother-like position. After she claims she's going to go to the ball. Elvira tears up her dress. She goes down to be there with her dad again, who is still in the house and his body is rotting. Just throw that out there again. The mother's horrible, okay? And mother comes, fairy godmother style, and basically tells her, just like in the Cinderella story we all heard, right? Go to the ball, nobody's gonna recognize you. You need to leave before midnight because your carriage is gonna turn back into a pumpkin. And you see the larva come out, start fixing her dress, right? That was torn. So that was pretty crazy to see, right? But again, like I said, Agnes shows up to the ball and, well, she steals the show, for lack of a better term, right? The prince literally is dancing with Elvira at the time, and then after Agnes comes in, like basically his jaw drops and he just like walks right off from Elvira, like, okay, bye, kind of deal, which is really mean, right? I mean, like, come on, man. I feel kind of bad for her again, right, in that sense, but she's already gone off the deep end at that point, right? Nonetheless, Agnes dances. She has to run off because, you know, the pumpkin, right? It's gonna turn the carriage gonna turn to a pumpkin, all that, the Cinderella story all over again. When she gets home, Elvira tries to kill her. Like, how could you do this kind of deal? Give me the shoe, right? Give me the shoe. But this is where the real kicker comes in, right? Because, you know, the story goes again. The prince is like, hey, whoever fits into this shoe that I have here, right, will be the one I marry. So she takes the shoe from Agnes, right? Elvira takes the shoe, right? And she looks and she's like, my feet don't fit. My feet are too big. So what does she do? She chops off her toes so her foot can fit into the shoe. Yeah, chops off her toes. And her mom comes in, and Elvira's begging right after the other sister, Alma, finds her, right? Remember Alma? I didn't mention her earlier, but she's too young, right, to go to the ball, right, and all that at that point. So she's not dealing with any of this pressure like that at this point. In fact, she's working with the horses in the stable at one point, and she kind of looks like she's enjoying it. It's pretty cool, right? But so again, the mother comes in. Oh my God, my sweet little girl, right? All this, giving her a bunch of what I can assume is something like a painkiller of some sort back in the day, right? Probably some opiate, like opium or something like that. And basically says, when she goes out, the prince has the other shoe, you chopped the wrong toes off. And she basically says, we're gonna make it fit. And she chops off the other toes. Yeah, the mom's horrible. So again, the prince does show up, right? They show up and they're like, hey, we're here to try on the shoes, but hey, guess what? Elvira can't even get off the floor. Well, I'm sorry, she can't even get out of bed she can't even walk. I mean, they just chopped off all her toes, right? So she's struggling just to move around. And that's the crazy part, man. And you just hear it in the background, right? You just watch Elvira basically struggling to get down. She tumbles down the stairs and everything. She's crawling on the floor, trying to get out there to the prince so she can put the shoe on her messed up feet. Agnes just goes, here's the foot, slides it in. You don't even see it happen, right? It happens like off in the back because you're just watching through Elvira's perspective. She looks devastated, of course. So why wouldn't she be, right? She chopped off her toes. She ate a tapeworm. She got that gnarly surgery there, and the other one I didn't even mention were to insert these eyelashes. That was horrifying, right? If you saw it, right, the doctor, besides the fact that he like snorts something, right, that you probably shouldn't be snorting if you're going to be working on somebody's eye, but he does, and then he starts just going through the eye gnarly. Oh my God, down here, right? And you see the other nurse that he worked on, and her eyes all jacked up. So you know he's messed up. He's messed up before. Oh my God, it's so horrible. But again, putting yourself through all that crap. And then you see like what happened to her at the end. Her hair's falling out. She has bald spots all over the place, right? Her feet are fucked up. Her hair's falling out. Her teeth are all messed up now. It's just sad, man. Like I just felt really sad by the time the movie was over. I mean, it does end on a much, I guess, not a happy note, right? Alma helped Elvira run off, right? They're leaving, right? She can't walk. She has to wheelbarrow her out, right? I don't mean in a little wheelbarrow. If you ever played the wheelbarrow where you grab the legs and the other person's walking with their hands like that, right? That's kind of what they had to do. And like I said, sad situation to be in. But on a tiny little bright note, Elvira was laughing, having a good time. It seemed like, at least for that little tiny little bit in the wheelbarrow, right? But again, I guess I was just feeling really sad throughout most of this movie. It really hit hard. Things like that kind of suck, man. The societal pressure that women have to deal with based on their looks, it's just not fair, man. But this movie's fantastic. it's really good. It has an interesting message to put out there. So give it a shot, man. It's a lot of fun. It's gnarly. It's gross. It's not like Terrifier gory or anything like that. But man, they do pull a tapeworm out of her mouth, and it's disgusting. She barfs out tapeworm eggs, which is also disgusting. Chop off her toes. Gross. So yeah, man, this movie's pretty gross. I can see some people throwing up in it. Makes sense to me now. Well, I guess if I had to give it some sort of a rating, I think on Letterboxd I gave it like 4.5 out of 5. I really liked it. It's pretty good. And if you have Shudder, there it is, man. Check it out. Y'all have a good one.